The Trussville Council diverts money allocated for schools to help fund the new grocery development. And Pinson is working to keep the Butterbean Festival. Tribune Unscripted starts now. Welcome back, everybody. It's Thursday. Thanks for joining us for Tribune Unscripted. A little technical glitch there, but that's okay. So we're a little late today because we've been catching up. While I was out of town, you guys had a pretty major story come out this week, and it does all center around the new grocery store development that is moving through the process with the Trussville City Council that is going to be, you know, if you're familiar with our overpass off of Highway 11, Watterson Parkway, right. It's to the right of that where some businesses that people loved for a long time, chocolate biscuits and things like that, Southern Magnolia, where those were located.
That's right.
But what you discovered while we were gone, I'm going to let you explain because I want to say it the wrong way every time. But essentially, a penny that is often taken out of everything we do sales tax wise here in Trussville and given to the schools and has been happening for decades.
Right.
That is not happening maybe with this development.
Yeah, it's a departure from the norm, from the way it had been treated in the past. The Trussville City Council and Mayor started, I'm trying to remember the exact dates, I think it was around 2002 or 3. It was even before we had Trussville City Schools.
Right. Well, Gene Milton did it to prepare for us having our own school system. Is that the right way to say that?
It is, and we talked about it a little bit this summer because when the council and the mayor did that, and this was under the Milton administration, that's when they promised that garbage would be free if the citizens would go along with adding this extra penny. Right. And that penny was put in what we called the Education Trust Fund for future schools. We were part of the Jefferson County school system at that time. So the first real benefit to that was, I think it was in 2004, we announced that we were leaving. We started Trussville City Schools in 2004. In 2005, we actually left Jefferson County and became Trussville City Schools. Because the city had been putting that penny away, when we left Jefferson County Schools, Trussville City Schools had millions of dollars in the bank because it had collected for 2 or 3 years. So that we had seen other school systems leave Jefferson County and struggle financially. Right. I mean, they were on the struggle bus because it takes a year for the state funds to start coming in. They're paid a year in arrears. So they would leave and then realize we don't really have the money, and they'd have to borrow or do a bond issue. So Trussville was very fortunate. When we left Jefferson County schools, we had millions of dollars in the bank to fund that move. Remember, Suzanne Freeman was hired a year before we left Jefferson County, so she had an entire year with her staff to start preparing for the transition to Trussville City Schools. That was all because of that penny. I will also tell you,
really important history.
And I don't want to get too much into our historical part. There were a lot of dirty deeds by the Jefferson County School District when we left. All the new buses were removed from Trussville and replaced with their older buses because all that was going to transfer with us. Roof repairs were deferred instead of being taken care of. Remember, the high school was where the middle school is now. That whole roof had to be replaced. In fact, when this story came out, I've heard from some of our former city leaders, council people, and one of them said, "Scott, you don't know half of it," and started listing other stuff that Jefferson County did. Well, Trussville was able to overcome that because of this penny. So it's always been important. You know, we've never really paid the ad valorem, the millage that a lot of our neighbors pay. Ours is about middle of the pack in Jefferson County, what Trussville actually pays. And we've had a couple of bumps where we did have that on the ballot, and it's failed a couple of different times. It's also passed a couple of times. But having that 1 cent sales tax dedicated to schools has been incredibly beneficial to Trussville City Schools. It's filled that gap when our millage has not been as high as it needs to be, that's been a great way to fill the gap.
Well, and they count on it.
They can, yeah. It's not play money. They know it's coming, and it's come for 24 years now, and so that is part of the budget. And there's nobody has said anything about cutting that, from the schools.
It's just this particular development. They're staying flexible.
Yeah.
So they could give it to the schools, or they could not give it to the schools. I'm going to put you on the spot. Was there an announcement made while I was gone about this?
No, there was, and that was one of the things that was a little concerning. Let me back up, and because I want to be very specific about this. The 1 cent, that extra penny, goes to the schools every month whenever the city collects sales tax. They forward that to the schools. Used to go into a trust fund, but during the Choate administration, the council voted to just start sending it directly to the school. And so that's not going to be affected by any of what we're talking about today. Right. So that's important that people understand that. The other thing that has happened for 24 years, because the city has entered into a lot of incentive agreements with businesses wanting to come to Trussville. And that's a different topic, but incentives are kind of part of the way it's done these days. This is not unique to Trussville. Every city does that. That penny for schools was always set aside and not, and the city has always been very specific about saying this is not part of the incentive. We will deal with the 3 cents the city keeps. We'll use that as part of the incentive, but that 1 cent to Trussville, and Buddy Choate even referred to it the other day, that's always been sacred. It's always been moved away. So that changed on this proposal for a new grocery store next to Watterson. And honestly, it took me a while. I mean, I probably read that agreement half a dozen times. I didn't see the 4% until maybe the 7th or 8th time I read it. And it kind of jumped off, and I went, is this a misprint? But this is after it passed. And so when I started asking, they're like, no, it's actually part of it. But the schools will get at least half a penny, could get the full amount. We kind of don't know. We needed the flexibility in that. Okay. But this is the first time it's ever been included. It's always stayed out to protect the schools and protect that funding source. So that's what was different about it. It's only been done one way since its existence, and this changes a little bit. And it's been a big conversation. Obviously, throughout the community, we've had a lot of, actually an amazing amount of traffic on the website reading the story, and then a lot on social media commenting on it.
And I mean, reading the story is a commitment. I mean, it's hefty.
The mayor gave us a very detailed explanation of what's going on here. Okay. When we reached out to him on Monday, and I said, maybe you want to kind of explain the circumstances to the audience. And I thought he did a great job giving us a very detailed response to what's happening and why it's happening. Before we go any further, I'd kind of like to address our audience a little bit. Some of the comments that were made on our Facebook page, I understand people being upset about this. I'm not crazy about this myself, so I get that. But I was a little taken aback by some of the venom directed at our council and our mayor, and I'm going to tell you, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's necessary. I don't think that moves the conversation forward. I think we've got to be very realistic about the situation that we're in as a city right now. Okay, 80% of our city council has 4 months experience. Okay, we knew that when we elected them. These are a lot of people that this is their first time to serve. And then you look at our council president and our mayor, who do have experience, but they've got 1 term of experience. This is a big responsibility to run a city the size of Trussville and that is growing the way Trussville is. So while I wish everybody had, and I don't know, maybe they were completely clued in. I don't know that. It was not discussed in 2 workshops, and it was not discussed in 2 council meetings when all of this was talked about. Mm-hmm. So that's concerning. When you change something that's been one way for 25 years, I really think it's important that you let the public know this change is taking place. And we kind of found out about it after the fact. Listen, I got to take some of the blame for that. I read those documents. Did not jump out to me until Sunday morning when I read it for the umpteenth time. So I get how somebody can miss stuff. I understand, but any conversation about this between citizens and our council needs to be respectful, and it needs to stay on topic and not have a big knee jerk on this. So that's what makes a difference. Now, there are a lot of other factors. Part of why there's always been a little uneasiness about this is while the money is dedicated to the schools, it comes through the city first. Trussville has never wavered on that. In fact, taking that penny out, and I would say this to the council, when you look at a balance sheet, you kind of understand how the numbers work, but the historical aspect of it is a little more difficult. But Trussville has made, through the way they've handled this, the city of Trussville has made a very strong statement over the last 2.5 decades that we are prioritizing our funding to the schools. That's always been a really strong statement, especially when they go out and ask the public to pay a little more. They can say, look, we've been giving up this since it started, even before it started. So I think that's important. But when Hoover had a similar model. When they started Hoover City Schools got 16% of the sales tax. And then you started hearing rumblings about, well, the city may need some of that back because the city was growing. They had needs too, just like Trussville.
But now they've completely cut it out.
Now they've completely cut it out and replaced it with $2 million flat each payment each year.
Did they raise their ad valorem taxes as they did it?
No, they've had votes like we have. I don't know where they are on that right now, but there was no replacement for that.
Okay.
The first year they did it, Hoover City Schools took in $7 million less because of the change.
Wow.
Now that is estimated to have been $51 million less that Hoover City Schools would have had that not changed.
Okay.
So there's always been a little uncertainty. And I want to address a couple of things that I've heard, and I've gotten screenshots from friends who have seen comments from some of our city leaders saying that, well, the school officials knew about it and they were all okay with it. First of all, I'm just going to have to say that's not accurate. I mean, I think some leaders knew about it, absolutely, but we're aware of board members that didn't know about it. Okay, so if you're hearing that from one of your elected leaders, there's some variation there. I know some have, and I know some haven't. So that's number one. Number two, the city has complete control over this money. The city council has full control over this. I would not expect our school board or any of our school leaders to fight the city over it. Our city has been great about supporting these schools historically. A lot of people may not be aware of it. The Magnolia property, where Magnolia Elementary is, the city owned that and donated it. Payne, even before we were Trussville City Schools, the property for Payne Elementary was donated by a business leader and his wife. Ned and Goldie Payne donated that. City of Trussville paid for half of that building when it was still Jefferson County Schools because they knew we were eventually going to take it.
Yeah, you can't argue that historically the city of Trussville has been wonderful to our schools,
and listen,
for sure.
But
I do agree that if everybody involved, like if everybody on the council knew that this should have been put out in front of the community in advance, I would think, so that everybody could understand the reasons behind it instead of it coming out the way that it did, which is through you reading it six times and realizing it and then writing a story. And so maybe it could have been handled differently. Well, but also, who owns the property?
I don't know exactly who owns it at the moment. The developer, I guess, has control over it.
Okay.
But I've also heard, well, the property will be worth a lot more when it's developed, so everybody will get a little more property tax. That is 100% true. That is also true with every single incentive package we have ever approved in this city in 25 years. Anytime you improve property, whether you put a house on it or a business on it, it's going to be worth money and the property taxes are going up. There's nothing unique about this project that hasn't been in place with every single incentive project, except the school money has always been off the table. That was untouchable, and now that's changed. And it's one project, but let me tell you, I ran the numbers. The developer did provide a prospective revenue for what this property will produce, right? And it was like $22.5 million annually. Well, if you take 1% of that, that's $225,000 a year. That would fund 2 local teaching units for Trussville City Schools. which is what sets you apart from other systems.
Right.
When your local board can fund local teaching units.
Right.
And I can tell you, Dr. Martin and this board have really had their eye on that. That's what makes class sizes smaller. That's the only way to do it. And that's something they've really had front of mind. Well, $225,000 would fund a couple of teaching units, because you've got to pay for their salaries, their retirement, their benefits. You've got to pay it all, whereas the state would pay it under the formulation of, the base formulation, let's say. So you can't do that, because the school doesn't know if they'll get half the penny or the full penny. It'll be tied up for the next 15 years. Listen, they'll be grateful for anything they get, and they have needs. We all know that. We need an elementary school right now. They're literally, the school board and the superintendent are literally digging through the couch cushions for loose change to put the wing on the high school. I mean, they're making a lot of sacrifice to do that, but that throws this one penny on this project, which, as I said, $225,000 a year off this one project. It just kind of puts it in flux.
Yeah.
A year, every year. So that would pay those salaries for a long time.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll say this. Yeah, the city council has control over that, but if the community has an opinion, show up at the meeting and maybe ask about it.
And I think they will. And again, I want to defend, again, our city leaders a little bit. First, let's start with our mayor, okay? He went into office with a real commitment to get Trussville on fiscally stable ground. We had we'd kind of overspent a little bit near the last administration, near the end of that term. Now that last administration got the ship right. They sold off some surplus property and they balanced everything out, which was great. So this council could kind of take over in good shape. And the mayor has been a very successful businessman. He knows how to put together deals. He knows how to make profits. So I think that is benefiting our city. And I think our council is probably aware of that and supports that. I have no doubt that the balance sheet they were shown on this probably looked good, and with that penny in there. I'm not sure how many of our councilors would have known about the penny, because again, that's kind of minutia. If you're not really paying attention, you may or may not have known how the city had handled it before. So I just want to say that if that's the focus, was the financial stability, I get that it probably looked good. But let me say this. Sometimes you can know the what. This is what we're doing and it looks good, but you may not know the why. And that's difficult on people who are just sitting in these seats. At the same time, we've got about 30 years worth of former mayoral experience walking around this town who will answer their phone and have conversations about things that how things have worked historically. Anytime a counselor feels like they need to be brought up to speed. Just last week, guess who we had in the council meeting? Jane Bailey was recognized.
Oh, yeah, she was.
So,
I read that story.
And for those of you who don't know Jane Bailey, she is a walking encyclopedia of Trussville government history. And she was there during a lot of this stuff. Jane she's just brilliant. She's got a great business mind, but she understands why we did this. And I want to go back to what I said earlier. By doing this for 25 years, Trussville has always made a statement about our commitment to funding the schools and funding them well. And with the school district being number 5 in the state, I think it is established that our city has done a great job in doing that. So that's important in making that statement. So this shifts a little bit when you put that into an incentive package. It kind of lessens that statement a bit. Yeah. I don't think our council is thinking of clawing back money from the schools. I don't believe that. I don't think they had any intention of hurting the schools with this deal. I don't believe that for a minute. I think they had nothing but the best of intentions, and maybe just didn't understand why it had been done this way all the years. But here's what concerns me, Brandon. We've got to build an elementary school. Yeah. We've got a need for one. And our mayor and our council have been working on that. And I don't know if they've made the announcement, but they've made some progress in acquiring some land for that fourth elementary school that we're going to need. So it's not as if they don't care about education. It is at front of mind, and they've shown that. However, we're going to need about $50 million to build a building, somewhere between 40 and 50 million. The school system, TCS does not have that money. We are going, at some point, we're going to have to, if not on this, on something, we're going to have to go back to the citizens of Trussville and ask them to raise their property tax, raise their ad valorem tax to help pay for a new elementary school. I think this decision, based on comments I'm seeing on our social media, has made that infinitely more difficult now when we do go back.
And we still need changes to the middle school. Nobody likes to talk about it. Everybody,
the needs that exist.
But every time, I had more friends this year who had incoming sixth graders, and all year long, those people have stopped me randomly and been like, "Oh yeah, the stuff at the middle school is legit." Like
it is real.
And I was, yeah,
it's real.
It is.
I mean, kids
it's a real thing.
Half the kids are eating in the lunchroom. They're running lunches from, I guess, about 10 a.m. We're pretty soon. We're very close to probably having to serve brunch just to get everybody fed.
I mean, it's a real thing. Yeah. Okay, I want to switch over to the other story about this property. So it was rezoned last week.
Right.
To commercial.
Right.
So there's it was
part PUD and part industrial.
Right. And so now it's rezoned to commercial to suit this. But the only thing, and I don't know anything about the property, and there's probably good reasons for it.
There's a lot of good stuff in this development.
Well, but I will say this, I hadn't envisioned it as like a true strip mall, so that I was a little disappointed to see that. I thought it was going to be a development that was more creative for the location.
Yeah.
Like maybe something that blended in better with the downtown entertainment. And that's not what it looks like here, but maybe it still is. I don't know. I just was like, oh.
On the plat, it looks like a typical public strip mall.
Yeah, and I was hoping it was not going to look like that.
There may be some negotiation to be done there.
Okay.
I don't, they haven't gone to design review.
But that's just looking at the picture. I'm just basing it off
This is actually in what we call the transition overlay. And that runs from the interstate right up to Watterson. On the other side of Watterson, you're in the downtown overlay.
Right.
So if you read the city code on the transition, is that what they call transition overlay? It is to transition from high density commercial property near the interstate, like the Pinnacle, the Promenade, down to lesser density commercial as you go into your downtown.
Right.
One of the best examples we've got is right across the street where Walk-On's, independent building, school board, a convenience store, a freestanding ER, Grandview ER, and I think there's a
little nugget of businesses in front of
with only like three or four fronts.
Yeah, easy to get in and out of.
So that's kind of what you're talking about, what they're talking about when they talk about transitioning from, these bigger strip malls down closer to the interstate up to here. And I think Trussville's done a fine job with that. They're not going to be traditional downtown buildings, but you're blending right into it.
Right.
So a little concerning to see the last piece of property on the transition that could. Now they've got two out parcels that fit the transitional area, where there'll be probably, I hope, two freestanding businesses. I hope we don't end up with two strip malls on those outward parcels. Right up front by Highway 11.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's not on that map.
It's not on it.
Okay. But then at the back, it is a typical public strip mall. I don't know if that Publix, and I don't know, we don't know if it'll be a Publix, I should say that. I keep assuming a little bit, but that hadn't been announced yet. But assuming it is, which does fit the description in all the legal documents, then most of the Publix stores look like the one up by Deerfoot.
Yeah.
But if you go look at the Publix at Mountain Brook Village, the new one there, first of all, it's very much an upscale design inside. It'll bring a lot more people than the average grocery store of any kind would. But it's all brick, and English Village is built like a little mini downtown. So that was built to fit right in. And maybe
you almost don't notice it.
No, you don't. You've got to look for it because it just disappears into all the other buildings.
Yeah, it does.
But maybe there is an opportunity for something like that. Maybe it's been discussed.
Those are conversations that they're having.
Yeah, I hope so, because really it would be a shame to see the type style you're trying to transition away from to be the last thing you see before you step into downtown proper. Yep. I was always hoping that would actually eventually be an extension of the downtown overlay.
Yeah, I think that's what I had envisioned in my head too.
Connected by the Greenway under the Watterson Parkway. So
maybe not. Okay.
There are a lot of good things we need to mention. A long right turn lane for Watterson, much needed. that would be paid for by the developer. A realignment of Kennemer with Maple across the street, or K Avenue maybe.
Yeah.
But it would realign that. That's the road that runs beside Captain
it is
D's.
Maple, yeah.
It would align that, which would be great for the city loop. These are really, really great improvements that the developer will be paying for. So that part of the negotiation, I think, was well done.
All right.
It'll also add a double left turn lane coming off of Watterson onto 11 South. That's needed. So a lot of these things, a lot of the traffic elements of this project are really going to help traffic flow in downtown Trussville. So let's don't overlook the long list of positives here, but the school money is concerning.
When does the council meet again? Next week?
I think they meet on Tuesday. I think they get back in their normal cycle
routine. Okay.
Tuesday.
They didn't meet this week because of spring break.
You know what? I take that back. It may be Tuesday after next.
Okay. And then I did not come up here with that piece of paper, so we don't have to talk about that. I left it in your office, but we can mention it if you want to.
Yeah, we mention it, sure.
Okay, so if you live in the Cahaba, staying in the Trussville area, if you live or own property in the Cahaba project, which is only like 252 or 56 parcels, I believe.
About that, yeah.
You received a letter last week or maybe the end of the week before asking you to submit a survey based on the community's thoughts and desires for the neighborhood. So there's a QR code there. Hasn't been in the paper yet because it really just affects that 200. It's just residents, just property owners specifically. You have to hunt, and only 2 people per property owner, like per parcel, can even fill out the survey. And so at most you're looking at maybe 500 surveys. Right. And I think that's appropriate where the city's trying to get some feedback for some thoughts. There's a public hearing coming up on that on April 13th. We'll talk more about that before they get to it. And then you said possibly later, maybe a survey coming out to all Trussville residents?
A little bit later, I think there'll be a second survey for kind of Trussville at large. All the residents can kind of participate and kind of give our view of the historic district as well.
Because everybody uses it. Some of us own property and live there, but everybody uses it.
100 feet from it. So, I've always said, part of the reason we haven't been able to settle on anything in the historic district was because homeowners living there have struggled to get on the same page. There's a broad variety of views there.
Yep.
At the same time, we are losing historic homes at the most rapid pace I've seen since we've been here. I mean, they're coming down fast, left and right, and it's either do something now or it's going to be gone eventually. But I've always contended that it may be valued even higher by the people who don't live there. Those of us who drive through it, and we just, I've had family members come up and they're stunned when they see it. I still remember my brother saying, "You live in a Norman Rockwell painting."
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it feels. It is just so beautiful and such a great part of our community. Finding a happy median among the home property owners there is what they're hoping for. Yeah. I don't know if they can do it, but I hope they can.
And really, we just want to make people aware.
Yeah.
We're just letting people know that that's going on.
That's right.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk about a new Trussville business coming to the old Starbucks location. Stay with us. Have you been to Discount Warehouse lately? New electronics, brand name makeup, and bedding arrive daily. Follow their Facebook page to find out about special sales on clothing, tools, and fireworks. Discount Warehouse, where you will never pay retail price. Welcome back, everybody. Well, so this was fun to see, this new business announcement for Trussville. So it's in the little strip mall where the original Starbucks was, and everybody knows because we only had one.
That's right.
And the line would wrap around the building.
Target. You had to go in. It's the only one with the drive-through.
It's the only freestanding one, so to speak. But I go there to that building all the time because Parcels 2 is there, and you can drive through that business and hand off your already labeled UPS and FedEx and
they've got a
post office. So
I
use them all the time. So every time I go by, I think about what's going to end up in that original Starbucks location because it's still a nice location. Now we know. So Einstein Bagels is coming there. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know they still did locations. I haven't seen one in a long time. I see their product in stores sometimes.
There's very few in Alabama.
But in Atlanta they have.
Oh yeah, they're bigger in other parts.
Love them.
The only reason I was aware of it, and this was kind of funny, on Parents' Day we went down to the University of Montevallo where Sarah's a freshman, and they fed us barbecue, and that was done in the Student Center. Well, we're going through the Student Center, and I look up, they've got an Einstein Bagel in the Montevallo Student Center. So she told me yesterday, she said, Dad, I was on my phone. She was at Sanford with her boyfriend, and she said, I was on my phone thumbing through, and I saw the Tribune article about Einstein Bagels, and I started screaming and embarrassed everybody.
That's funny.
She said, I was so excited to see it, and she said, you're going to love it.
It's so
I've looked at
good.
their menu online. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice ad. So, and that's a spot that needed to be filled, really.
It really did. I'm surprised.
Because it still is super busy. The new Starbucks is still right there.
Yeah.
And so it's just a really busy little, and now it used to be so hard to get in and out of there, but there's that light behind it. And it's just easy to use those businesses than it's ever been.
It is.
And so I thought that was great to see that spot get filled.
It's such a good fit. I was surprised with that drive-through window, something didn't jump on there.
And Pastry Art is right in the middle.
Pastry Art's right next door,
What a great,
next door?
It's like in the, it's next door to it, I think.
I'm betting that's not a cheap location because that's a nice building with good businesses. But this should be, I'm a breakfast guy. And if I'm go through and get a bagel sandwich for breakfast, I will be there on a regular basis.
Yeah, and you can go by and buy lots of bagels. But anyway, okay, opening date's not been set. We'll look out for that.
Yeah, we'll be watching for that.
All right, so this was important last week when we were here. A lot of changes with the Butterbean Festival that's famous out of Pinson. That's been around for a long, long time. Right. The Pinson Clay Chamber has kind of dissolved is not the right word, but changed focus.
They're not really a chamber anymore. They've shifted their focus to supporting first responders in the high schools. So
the mayor of Pinson is going to come visit with us next week. Would they have a meeting tonight? And on the agenda is some conversation about maybe the city taking over the festival.
And we don't. I don't know. We've been in communication with Hoyt Sanders, the mayor, and Don Tanner as well, one of the counselors over there. Tonight will be kind of where the mayor shares what he thinks the city can do. I don't know if they've been able to work out anything and retain the Butterbean Festival because the folks that control it, the former chamber, have been pretty adamant about, no, we're just going to let it die, and not go for it. I've also heard rumors they may move it to another town. I was very hopeful that cooler heads would prevail. That's really been something Pinson has supported all these years. It's been supported by the Pinson residents. And I know Mayor Sanders' first choice was to preserve it and let the city start operating it. You're going to see something from Pinson, whether it's being able to retain and continue the Butterbean Festival or just start their own from scratch. I think that will be discussed tonight in the council meeting, and I'm assuming we got somebody headed there, Brady, and so the Tribune will be there covering it.
Okay.
We'll see. I believe, do they stream theirs? Yes. So you'll be able to watch it online. As you mentioned, Hoyt will join us next week, next Thursday on Unscripted, so we're looking forward to that. And we were doing the Meet the Mayor deal, needed him up here anyway.
Yeah, so that worked out.
So I'm just going to tell Mayor Hoyt, we're going to talk about the festival, but we need you to catch us up on everything going in Pinson. So
I'm sure he'll be happy to do that.
It'll be a pretty detailed, a lot of good things are going over there. Okay. So we're going to end up with something in Pinson. We don't know if it'll be the Butterbean or something different, but I'm just disappointed that cooler heads didn't prevail if they're not able to maintain it. and keep that name out there, because 20 years is a long time. It serves no purpose to just drop it and let it die, but that may be where they are. I don't know. But I will tell you this, the mayor and city council in Pinson are committed to moving forward with some type of festival on that level or better. I feel like I can say that for the folks in Pinson, but it's not just for the folks in Pinson. It's really for all the surrounding areas.
A lot of people.
I've lost count to the butterbean festivals I've been to. I know I got a bunch of butterbean T-shirts, and they're my favorite T-shirts. So whatever Pinson does, I think it'll be great. They've got a great location that has worked well for stuff like this. So something good is going to come out of this one way or the other, and we'll know more tonight, and we'll share it with our audience next week.
Okay. All right. A couple other things before we get away. So let's talk about, Easter is next weekend, not this weekend, but the next weekend. Right. And so we did want to remind people that Jefferson Memorial Funeral Home and Gardens host an Easter sunrise service. And there's a great story about that on the website and in the paper this week. They've been doing that for at least 40 years. Yep. And it's in the garden of the old Rugged Cross. And so at 6:30 a.m. Easter morning. So if you love an Easter sunrise service and your church maybe doesn't do one, that's a great place to catch one.
Have you ever gone by chance?
I haven't.
I know with three children you would not even consider it.
Nope.
Having all them dressed and ready to be at the cemetery at 6:30. We've live streamed a couple of them in the past, and I've been to quite a few. And I just want to tell you, if you've never been, it is so worth getting up early, getting dressed, and going up for that sunrise service. The first time I went, it's moving. It is very moving.
Okay.
The sun rises behind those crosses. They always have great, fantastic music and a great word from a local pastor. If you've never been, it is really worth getting up at least one Easter Sunday morning, getting your family together and going up there. You will not regret it. It's
well, I wanted to let people know about it because I feel like we haven't talked about that in a long time. And then the last thing I want to talk about before we get away is Argo is adding a festival for their city. That's coming up on April 18th, Spring Fest. So that's going to be a free family event taking place in that city with all kinds of stuff.
We're excited. Argo's wanted to do something for a while, right? And so Randy's kind of got this thing rolling in the right direction.
Good for Randy.
And I've sent word back that the Tribune is going to help in any way that we can. We're going to help promote this and get the word out as they try to get this off the ground. I'm excited for Argo. They've always wanted to do something, and they've done some different things up there. But I think they're ready to establish something that people will look forward to, and they can build from there.
It's going to have a car show, food trucks, live music, vendors, a kid zone, a helicopter fly-in. That's going to be interesting to see. Just plenty of reasons to go.
Just a fun day.
It's a fun day. Saturday, April 18th, 10 to 2 in the parking lot of Central Baptist Church. That's right there on Highway 11. You cannot miss it. They do have a really nice parking lot.
Yeah, Central's got a good setup.
They do. They have a good location. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to let people know about that.
We're excited. So. You'll hear all about it in the Tribune. We will be working with the city to get the word out and help them get this thing launched. I love that our cities do stuff like this. It really kind of showcases the city and the community members, which is what makes any city great. So this one's 5 minutes up the road. We'll have to hit that for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all we have for this week. Next week, we do have a couple of guests. Like we mentioned, Pinson Mayor Hoyt Sanders will be with us. Amy Peterson will be here to talk about the Cahaba Homestead Heritage Week coming up and all the events of that. She'll be with us next Thursday. So we've got lots going on next week. A lot of people are on spring break this week. So anyway, we hope you get out and enjoy the rest of the weekend, all the beautiful weather, and we'll be back next week. We'll see you then.
No storms are predicted.
No storms.
I'm Drew Lawley, General Manager at Courtesy Buick GMC. We have over 300 vehicles to choose from, including GMCs, Buicks, and certified pre-owned vehicles. Come see us at Courtesy or check us out at courtesybirmingham.com. Proud supporter of our area high school teams.
If you don't have a will, trust, or some kind of estate plan, you're leaving your loved ones with a lot of headaches. Probate fees and tax issues bring stress to your family while they grieve your loss. Cahaba Law Group is here to protect them and give you reassurance that your hard-earned money and assets are not lost to bureaucratic mayhem. They can help you create the ideal estate plan. If If you're currently in probate, Cahaba Law Group can help assist you there too. Plus, they can handle more than just probate. They can serve you in just about any legal matter. Begin now by scheduling a consultation at cahabalaw.net.